Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us in the Fiqh class. Today, inshallah, we'll discuss the rulings of fasting, the book of fasting. We already mentioned the definition of fasting in language and in religion. And we mentioned also the benefits of fasting, or part of the benefits, because the benefits are really unlimited. You could think of hundreds of things that you will get by fasting. Now, we will move to the conditions of fasting. These conditions are necessary for fasting to become obligatory, which means if you don't have them all, then fasting is not obligatory. If you miss one of them, then fasting is not obligatory. How many conditions? We have 3 conditions. First condition, being a Muslim. If you are not a Muslim, then fasting is not obligatory. Or even if it's obligatory, it will not be accepted from you. You have to be Muslim. Number 2, sanity and reaching puberty. You could say they are 2 and 3. Sanity is 1, and reaching puberty. Because even if we have 30 years old person, but he's not sane, then he cannot fast. He doesn't have to fast. Number 3, having the ability to fast. What do you mean by having the ability to fast? If you are sick, do you have to fast? No. And this is something, unfortunately, some people don't understand. Like, he is sick, and if he fasts, he will aggravate his sickness. He has to break his fast. You don't have to fast. And you think, no, I have to fast. Allah does not tell you have to kill yourself to fast. Allah is merciful, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, having the ability to fast. When fasting is very difficult, you don't have to fast. So, 3 conditions. They are necessary in order for the fasting to become obligatory. Let's say now, you met these conditions. You are a healthy person, you are resident, you are not traveling, you don't have any excuse not to fast, you have your consciousness, you are fully sane and you are adult, and you wanted to fast. What should you do? 2 things. That's all. You should do 2 things. First thing, having the intention. You have to have the intention. Again, in the Shafi'i school of thought, you always need the intention. What's the evidence that you need the intention in fasting? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Here we have another evidence also. Precise evidence. مَنْ لَمْ يُبَيِّتِ الصِّيَامَ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَلَا صِيَامَ لَهُ. He who does not intend to fast from the night, then he has no fast for him, or fasting will not be accepted from him. So the Prophet ﷺ exclusively mentioned that you have to intend fasting from the night before. So the intention is required. This is the first thing, and that's the evidence. The second thing, not engaging in acts that void the fast. In Arabic we say النية والإمساك عن المفطرات. إمساك عن المفطرات. To avoid anything that will nullify your fasting, such as drinking, eating, or having any sexual intercourse. These are the things that will invalidate your fasting. So by your intention, when you intend to fast, and when you avoid these things, then you are considered fasting. So what are the things that invalidate fasting? They are 9. 9 things. When you know these things, I guarantee you will understand most of the book of fasting. Most of the questions of people come and tell you, I did this. Is my fasting still valid, or I broke my fasting? Remember always these 9 things. The first one, whatever reaches by an intentional act the stomach or the brain. Whatever reaches by an intentional act, the stomach or the brain. Like what? Food. You ate food and it reached what? Your stomach. You're not hungry anymore. Or by reaching the brain. Now, when you inject yourself with nutritional things, they don't reach the stomach, but actually they reach the brain. They run in your body. So this will break your fasting. Number 2, an enema or a douche. What do we mean by that? Anything that comes from a direct entrance to your body. One of the examples I could give you, like for the babies, you know, if they have fever, very high fever, and the doctor told you, the pediatrician told you, give them suppository, right? Those who have children, they know that. But if you don't have children, you may not know. What if an adult took this? It invalidates fasting. Why? Because it came from a direct entrance to the body. So that's what they mean by enema or douche. Something came from your nose, let's say, not, or from your ear. A liquid came in your ear and you tasted it in your throat. Does that nullify fasting or not? Yes or no? Yes, it does. It's just like if you ate something because it comes from here. What about kuhl? Eyeliner. Does it nullify fasting? Does it reach your stomach or brain? No, so it doesn't. It's clear. Number 3, intentional vomiting. Intentional vomiting. Does it nullify fasting or not? Yes, that's what you should say. Because I may ask you, vomiting, someone vomited. Does it invalidate fasting? If you say yes, it's wrong. If you say no, it is wrong. You have to say intentional vomiting invalidates fasting. Because what if you could not help it? It's okay. But if you do it intentionally, you know that if you smell this thing, you will vomit. Or if you put your finger, you will vomit. You cannot do it. Number 4, sexual intercourse. Of course, that invalidates fasting. Number 5, ejaculation due to physical contact with one's wife or masturbation. This invalidates fasting as well. What about wet dreams? Someone slept, he woke up and he found that there is something wet. He saw something in his dream. Does that invalidate fasting? No. You did not do anything. Menstruation. This invalidates fasting. Purpurium, the same thing. Insanity. Why insanity nullifies fasting? Yes.
You might not know that you have eaten something. You might not remember that.
You may not remember that. What if we took someone, imprisoned him? So we'll guarantee that he will not have food or drinks. Is fasting still accepted from him? He's insane. He's a crazy person. What? Why?
Because intention.
Exactly. You need to understand that you are fasting. That's why many scholars said the same thing, by analogy, the same thing, the one who sleeps from before Fajr until after Maghrib, he has to make up this day. Why? He did not fast. He did not fast. But if you wake up even for 1 hour during the day, and you know that you're fasting, then it's okay. If you pass out for a few hours in the day, it's okay. But if you lose your consciousness from the dawn, before the dawn until the sunset, then you have to make up this day. So insanity invalidates fasting. What if someone, he was awake but he was unconscious, or someone, he lost his mind? In general, he's sane, he has his sanity, but on that day he lost his sanity. Let's say for a shock, he heard someone died from his own family and he totally lost his mind for the entire day. Is his fasting accepted or not? Yes? Why? Did he make his intention? Insanity does not have to be permanent. It could be temporary, again, as I said, for 1 day. What if someone drank alcohol in the day, but he did not lose his consciousness? It depends on his intention.
During the day?
Yeah, during the day.
During the day he was supposed to fast?
Yeah.
He forgot?
No, he drank alcohol and he knew he will not lose his mind. He broke his fast. Why?
Because he drank alcohol. He's saying he's fasting.
Yeah, he's fasting, but he did not lose his consciousness.
But he drank.
Yes, he drank, so his fasting is not accepted. Because some people, oh, no, if he did not lose his mind, then if he was not intoxicated, even though he drank alcohol, well, he broke his fast anyway. So this is number 8. Number 9, apostasy. Apostasy invalidates all your deeds. So these are 9 things. If someone asks you about something, does it invalidate fasting or not? You come and check. What about the injection? Depends on what? No, in the veins. They injected you in the veins with, let's say, Advil. You had fever and you cannot take any pills, so they gave you injection. Does that invalidate fasting or not? Who said yes? Why? What? It reaches your brain.
Why would you be fasting if you're sick?
Yeah, you just had fever. No, it doesn't invalidate fasting. It doesn't invalidate fasting. What about injection with glucose? Do you know what's the glucose? Yeah, for energy, yeah. In the vein. Yes.
If you really, I don't know, but if you don't need it and you're just taking it as a supplement.
No, you need it. You are weak. You are fainting, so they gave you glucose. Yeah, it invalidates fasting. It's just like eating food and drink. They are giving you water and sugar, energy. That's what they meant by reaching the brain. Now, it did not reach your stomach, but it reached your brain. But the treatment, medication, it doesn't invalidate fasting unless you took it straight from an entrance to the body. Yes?
If you're too weak, then it's okay to
Yeah, of course. If you are too weak, actually, you should not fast. If your fast will weaken you more and more, you should not fast. So these are the 9 things that invalidate fasting. Remember always the number. Now, we have fasting on the forbidden days. There are days that you cannot fast. If you fast on those days, you are committing a sin, actually. Instead of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have 5 days. First thing, the 2 Eids. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Can you fast on those days? No, you cannot fast. Number 2, the remaining 3 days, the days of Tashriq, Ayyam al-Tashriq. What are the days of Tashriq? 11th, 12th, and 13th of Dhul Hijjah. The day of Eid, Eid al-Adha, is always the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, right? And then 11th and 12th and 13th comes after Eid al-Adha. You can never fast those days. Those 5 days, you cannot fast them. So 11th, 12th, and 13th of Dhul Hijjah. Now we said the 2 Eids, it is forbidden to fast them. If Eid al-Adha came in Ramadan, do you fast or you don't fast? You don't fast? Why? But it's Ramadan. If Eid al-Adha, not Eid al-Fitr. It won't come? He said you don't fast. It will never come in Ramadan. Just like if Ramadan came in Hajj, do you perform Hajj or you fast? It never comes. Be careful. Fasting is discouraged on the day of doubt. Now again, fasting could be wajib, could be mubah, allowed, could be recommended, could be makruh, and could be haram. We just mentioned it could be haram on 5 days. The 2 Eids and the 3 days of Tashriq, 11th, 12th, and 13th of Dhul Hijjah. Here, fasting is discouraged on the day of doubt. What's the meaning of the day of doubt? The day of doubt, when we have Sha'ban 29th. Now we know the lunar month, whether it is 29 days or 30 days. That's it. So it is 29th day, and it is cloudy. So we don't know tomorrow, is it the 13th of Sha'ban, or it is the 1st of Ramadan? How could we know it is Ramadan or it is still Sha'ban? How could we know? Usually, how do you know?
Moon sighting.
Exactly, moon sighting, right? If you see the moon, then tomorrow is what? First of Ramadan. What if there is a cloud? Could you see the moon anymore? You cannot. So what do you do in this case? Complete 30. Some people say, well, we have to fast anyway. Maybe it was Ramadan. No, that's not the sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ said, if it's cloudy, then you continue the days of Sha'ban. So, in the Shafi'i school of thought, what do? You don't fast this day. What's the day of doubt? Again, the day of doubt is the 30th of Sha'ban, when there is a cloud before it. On the 29th of Sha'ban, there is a cloud, so you don't know tomorrow whether it is the 30th of Sha'ban or it is the 1st of Ramadan. That's why we say it is the day of doubt, because you don't know. So this day, it is discouraged to fast it. Unless, here it says there is an exception. Unless the person was accustomed to fasting that day. Let's say today is Sunday. It is the 29th of Sha'ban. And you usually fast Monday and Thursday. So tomorrow is Monday, and you fast Monday. They say, in this case, it is accepted. You could fast, not because it is the day of doubt, but because it is Monday, and you want to fast Monday. Okay, if you're accustomed, you could fast. However, the accepted opinion in the Shafi'i school of thought, actually, now, is discouraged is one opinion, but the strongest opinion is that it is haram. Fasting on the day of doubt is forbidden. So now we could say how many days it is forbidden to fast in the Shafi'i school of thought. 6 days. Okay? The 2 Eids, the 3 days of Tashriq and the day of doubt. The Prophet ﷺ said, فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا عدة شعبان 30. صوموا لرؤيته. Start fasting by the moon sighting, when you see the moon. And break your fast when you see the moon. But if you could not see the moon because of the cloud, if there are clouds, فأكملوا عدة شعبان 30. Continue the numbers of Sha'ban 30 days. So that's the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now we are moving to another thing, kafara of jima'. Jima' is the sexual intercourse. Why they mention it in particular? Because there are severe consequences for it. Ramadan is a sacred month. The day of Ramadan, you have to respect the sanctity of that month. What if someone, he could not help it? So it says, whoever engages intentionally in a sexual intercourse during a day of Ramadan must perform 2 things. During a day of Ramadan. What about the night? If it's night, it's okay. What if he did not involve in sexual intercourse, but rather he just kissed his wife, he just hugged her? It's okay. Well, it's not okay, but he doesn't face these consequences. It's always in Ramadan, it's always recommended not to be involved in any desirable activity. Why? Allah said in the divine narrative, يَدَعُ طَعَامَهُ وَشَهْوَتَهُ لِأَجْلِي. He gives up his food and his desire for my sake. So you have to give up your desire also for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means once you respond to your desire, you are losing some hasanat. But that does not mean you have to do something else unless you are involved in this thing. You have to perform 2 things. Fast another day. This is what you should do because you broke your day automatically. We said the sexual activity with the wife, it invalidates fasting. So you have to make up 1 day for it. Number 2, you have to fulfill the kafara. What's the kafara? The expiation. What is it? You have to free a slave. If you could not free a slave, what should you do? Yes, you fast 2 consecutive months, 60 days, consecutive days. If you could not, what do? You feed 60 people, 60 poor people. Could someone say, I have lots of money, I don't want to free a slave, or we don't have slaves now, I have lots of money, so I will not fast 60 consecutive days, but rather I will pay the money. Could someone do that? No, he has to start in the order. First, you free a slave. If there is no slave to free, then you move and you fast 60 days. You don't say, I cannot, you have to try. If you tried. Now, let's say you fast 40 days. On the 41st day, you said, I am tired, so you broke your fast. The next day, do you start with the 41st day or you start with the first day? You start with the first day. That's why you have to avoid it from the beginning. Do not put yourself in trouble. Fasting, the fasting debt, or if you have debt of fasting. If someone dies and was required to fast for days he missed during previous Ramadans, his relatives or heirs must donate food on his behalf. That is equivalent to a mud for every day he was required to fast. What's the measurement of mud? What's the mud? Raise your voice, I can't hear you. What? 2 handfuls. That's the mud. You forgot? What's the sa'? What's the sa'?
4 handfuls.
Exactly, 4 handfuls. The mud is 1 and the sa' is 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The mud is approximately like 750 grams of food. But actually, it's not a weight measurement, it's quantity measurement. The same thing with the sa'. Now here it says, if you were required to fast, let's say you were traveling during Ramadan, and you did not fast, because it's your choice not to fast. And then you were busy, and you traveled, and you could not fast. Then you died. You were supposed to fast 10 days that you broke because you were traveling. It is encouraged for your heirs or your relatives to give food 10 days. So how much muds they give? How much muds they give? 10 mud. It's not difficult, come on. But remember, it is preferred, however, that the relative or heir fast on his behalf. Your father died, he was supposed to fast. It is better for you to fast on his behalf instead of giving the mud. But you don't have to. Again, the Messenger ﷺ was asked about this thing, if there is a debt of fasting. Do we pay it off? The Prophet ﷺ said, yes. The debt of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more worthy to be paid. So which is better? To fast or to give food? Fast. What if the person was a lady, she was pregnant? If a pregnant or a nursing woman, fearing for her health, did not fast, and this happens a lot. A woman is pregnant in Ramadan, and she fears for her health, so she did not fast. Then she must make up the missed days of Ramadan. But if she did not fast out of concern for the well-being of her children, now she says, I am strong, but maybe this will affect my child. Then she should make up the missed days of Ramadan and fulfill the kafara. Now, after pregnancy, you deliver the baby, and now you are nursing the baby. So the same thing. Maybe when you fast, what will happen? The baby will not have milk. So you break your fast. Not for you, because you say, I can fast, but for my child. What should you do in this case? You don't only make up the fasting, but also you fulfill the kafara. Why? Usually, you pay only one thing. Whether you fast or you pay the kafara. But why here they said you do both? They say because it has two rights. You broke your fast, and you are fearing for your child, so you pay the kafara. This is the opinion of Imam Shafi. But actually I believe, because other scholars said, you pay only one thing. You only make up the fast. Whether it is for your own health or for the well-being of your child. They have a law, it's called double jeopardy. Or the punishment is not twice. This is also Islamic law. If you are punished for drinking alcohol here in this life, you should not be punished in the hereafter. So the same thing here. Why you ask the nursing woman to fast and fulfill the kafara? There are some sayings from some of the companions, like Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that this is what she should do. But again, I believe according to other opinions. Now, again, we don't want to go beyond that. Just know the madhab of Imam Shafi rahimahullah. If you break your fast, fearing on your own health, do you do two things or one thing? One thing. You only make up these days. But if you fear on the well-being of your child, then you do two things. You fulfill the kafara and you make up the fast.
The same as the person that breaks one slave,
No. Again, what's the kafara? Very good question. What's the kafara here? One mud. One mud. It's not like 60 days. Otherwise, you will be fasting forever. Because if you broke your fast for the entire Ramadan, many times a woman is pregnant and she's in her second month. After 7 months, she delivered. And now she's nursing for less than 2 years. So she broke her fast for 3 consecutive Ramadans. This is 90 days. If you multiply this by 60, that means you will be fasting forever. No, the kafara is 1 mud. That's only the kafara of the jima' there. Here it's different. In regular times, even the sick person, let's say someone he is 60 years old and he is sick. He has a chronic disease that he will not be cured. What should he do? He pays the kafara for 1 day. 1 mud for 1 day, for each day. Now, after fasting, we have a chapter on i'tikaf. What's the i'tikaf? What's the definition of i'tikaf? Before we take the ruling of it. What's i'tikaf? Sitting in the masjid for last 10 nights. 9 days. If I go to the masjid for the last 10 days, because there is a pretty lady I am proposing to her of Ramadan. This is i'tikaf. That's what you said. Sitting in the masjid in the last 10 days of Ramadan. Exactly. Sitting in the masjid for the worship of Allah. That's the meaning of i'tikaf. Staying, actually, it's better. Staying in the masjid with the intention of worship. Staying in the masjid for the intention of worship. That's the i'tikaf. Does it have to be in Ramadan? We will see. What's the ruling of it? If you stay in the masjid to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is an encouraged sunnah. Sunnah mu'akkada. It has 2 conditions. How do you perform the i'tikaf? You make the intention. You don't go there. You spend time and then you say, oh, subhanallah, I am here in the masjid, so that will be considered i'tikaf. No. You have to make up your intention earlier. This is the first condition. The second condition, staying in the masjid. You have to stay in the masjid. You cannot say, I have i'tikaf, but I will go eat. I will go make some phone calls. I will go play basketball and then I will come back. That will break your i'tikaf. I'tikaf means you stay in the masjid. These are the 2 conditions. Now, does it say anything about Ramadan? Does it have to be in Ramadan? Some scholars said yes. Others said no. So here it doesn't mention anything. So you don't stipulate that the last 10 days of Ramadan. But it is the sunnah actually. The sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ, he used to do i'tikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan. Zakat al-Fitr. Now, although this is a chapter about zakah, but it's still related to fasting, because you do it upon the fasting of Ramadan. It is obligatory on the Muslim who has the provision for his day. Every Muslim who has the provision for his day, it is obligatory on him. Let's say you make $10 per day and you are paid daily and you need $5 for your food. That's all what you need today. So you are making then what you need. Do you pay zakat al-fitr? Do you pay? Yes, you pay. You pay. Because you have the provision for your day. If you don't have the provision for your day, then you don't pay the zakah. Why this condition? To make sure that only the needy people will take zakat al-fitr. To make sure that those people who are in a bad need for provision, they will be happy, at least on the day of Eid. On the day of Eid, there should be no single Muslim unhappy on the day of Eid. So, if you have the provision for your day, you don't have to be so much rich. You don't have to have the provision for 10 days. Only if you have the provision for the next day, then you pay zakat al-fitr. When do you pay it? You should pay it before the salah of the Eid. It is permissible to pay the zakah from the beginning of Ramadan. Once Ramadan begins, you can pay it. You can pay this zakah. Why? Because again, it is attached to Ramadan. Once the Eid prayer is over, can you still pay the zakah of the fitr? No, it is over. It has to be done before the Eid prayer, because it is again related to fasting. What's the purpose of legislating zakat al-fitr? Why it is legislated? What are the advantages? The Prophet ﷺ mentioned it is purification for the Sa'im. طُهْرَةٌ لِلصَّائِم. In your fasting, you may did few wrong things. You may did not perfect your fasting. So this sadaqah, this zakah of the fitr, it helps perfecting your fasting. Also, again, it makes everybody happy, especially the poor people. On that day, there should not be any poor people. What's the amount of zakat al-fitr? 1 mud? What's the amount? 2 muds. Any discount? It is 1 sa'. Zakat al-fitr is 1 sa', 4 handfuls. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's almost 2,400 grams, or 5 pounds, almost. But again, it's not the weight. It is a size or quantity. The amount of zakah is sa' of any type of food, like rice, wheat, or even dates, in the places where they eat dates. Here, dates is not considered essential food. But in some countries, like in the desert, in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, in many Gulf countries, dates is like essential food, especially in the desert. So, with this we will conclude the chapter of fasting. And now we are moving to the book of Hajj, pilgrimage. Necessary conditions for the pilgrimage to be obligatory. How many necessary conditions for fasting to be obligatory? 3. We said 3. How many necessary conditions for the pilgrimage to become obligatory? 7. 7. See the difference? There it was 3, here it is 7. Why? Because again, Hajj is not like fasting. Can a slave fast? Yes. What if his master does not want him to fast? He has to fast. He has to fast. But here we will see if he have to perform Hajj or not. The first condition, being a Muslim. Again, this is always. You have to be a Muslim. Number 2, reaching puberty. Reaching puberty. Number 3, sanity. Number 4, being a free person. So, if you are a slave, can you perform Hajj? What if you did? Your master told you, go ahead and perform Hajj. Will it be acceptable from you? Yes. What if 5 years old boy performed Hajj? It is acceptable. But when he reaches the age of puberty, is it sufficient, the Hajj he did, or he has to do 1 Hajj again? He has to do. What if he is not Muslim and he performed Hajj? He said, I want to do the Hajj just like you guys. I want to see. Is it acceptable from him? No. So there are conditions, they say, I don't want to confuse you, but there are conditions, they are called shurut sihha. Conditions to make the Hajj correct, which means the Hajj is incorrect if you do them without these conditions. And shurut kamal. And only the conditions for the Hajj to become perfect. And shurut ijza. And conditions for the Hajj to become sufficient, so you don't have to do it again. So being a Muslim, reaching puberty, sanity, being a free person, these are 4 conditions. Number 5, availability of food and transportation. Why is this a condition? Availability of food and transportation. If you don't have food, you will die.
Or you beg people.
Yeah. Can't I beg people to perform Hajj?
It's not forcible unless you have food.
Yes, exactly. Food, they don't even, it's actually, I don't like food. I like better word, provision. They say in Arabic, ملك الزاد والراحلة. Provision. Not only food, but anything you will need. Why you need these things? Why don't you just go and beg people? Again, Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, لِمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, for the one who is able to afford it. If you are unable to afford it, don't go. It's not mandatory. Many people, they ask you, I have a debt, huge debt, but I want to do Hajj. Ya akhi, it's not obligatory. Pay off your debt and then go for Hajj. You go there to Hajj and you find many people, they are poor and they beg people, don't give any one of them. Because they should not be there at the first place. You should not be here. It is not obligatory. But the problem with the ignorance of many people, they think, no, we have to do it. You don't have to do it. It's not mandatory for you. Allah will not ask you. You have to have food. You have to have provision. You have to have transportation. You have to have transportation. Allah does not tell you you have to walk all the way 4,000 miles, 5,000 miles. I have food, it will be enough for me, for 7 days I will be there, but I don't have the price for the ticket. Could you please give me money for the ticket? No, I will not, because you don't have to be there. You have to have transportation and provision. This is number 5. Number 6, the safety of the road. What if you have car, but there are thugs all the way? You may get killed. Do you still go for Hajj? There is a ship, but it is sinking. It depends. It's a shot in the dark. You don't know. Maybe you will pass the ocean, maybe you will sink. What do? Do you go? No. Actually, if you read the writings of the scholars, they said you don't have to go in a ship or a boat, let alone flying. But they say the safety is the road. That's the issue. Be it flying, be it driving, be it in the sea. It depends. Like flying now, statistically, is the safest method of transportation. Statistically, flying is the safest method of transportation. So even if you have to fly, you should go. If you can afford the ticket. You don't say, oh, I will fly and there is a risk. Because sometimes maybe when you're driving, many people, they are driving and they have a car accident and they die. As long as the road is safe. Earlier, in the time of the scholars, there were many thugs, many thieves. They used to rob people, they used to kill them. So, you don't have to do that. You don't have to risk your life to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go for Hajj. That's why, again, the ayah, لِمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Hajj is mandatory only for those who are able to afford it. Afford it with money, afford it with transportation. The safety of the road is one of the conditions. The same thing, when we talk about the safety of the road, if Mecca, now the road is safe, but there, when you reach there, you may be kidnapped. Or you may get killed. Do you still go there? No. I mean, you can, but you don't have to risk your life. Number 7, being able to walk. Being able to walk. Why? Do you have to be able to walk to fast?
No.
Do you have to be able to walk to pray? Why you have to be able to walk to perform Hajj? Exactly. It's a ibadah that requires many things. Lots of effort. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said it is jihad. Hajj is jihad. You have many types of jihad in Hajj. So you have to be able to walk. Unfortunately, like a few years ago, used to go there and people with wheelchairs, people with, they disturb others, they may harm them. And because of ignorance, you don't have to be there. You cannot walk. Pay someone and he will do it for you. But alhamdulillah, now this thing is almost over. Almost. Still there are a few things, but it's improving, alhamdulillah. Okay, these are the conditions for Hajj to become obligatory. Now, let's say you met all these conditions. 7 conditions, you met all of them. What are the essential things that you have to do in Hajj? We have 5 things. 5 things. Making the intention to enter into the ihram. النية بالإحرام. Again, what's the ihram? Some people think the ihram is only wearing those 2 pieces of cloth, those 2 towels. This is not ihram, because I could do that here. Ihram is by the intention. So this is a pillar. You cannot go, oh, I am in Mecca and I did tawaf, so I am in Hajj. You cannot do that. You have to make up your intention. You have to do the ihram. Number 2, standing in Arafah, al-wuquf bi-Arafah. The Prophet ﷺ said, al-Hajju Arafah. Al-Hajju Arafah. Number 3, circumambulating the Kaaba on the day of Eid al-Adha. The day of Eid al-Adha is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. On that day, you have to circumambulate the Kaaba. Because there are other types of tawaf, they are not pillar of Hajj. They are only wajib or sunnah. Now again, this is essential. What do we mean by essential? If you don't do it, is your Hajj accepted? No. Your Hajj is not accepted. You have to do it. Number 4, walking between As-Safa and Al-Marwa. As-Safa is the mount on the right side if you're going, and Marwa on the left side. Half mile between them. Number 5, shaving the head, according to one opinion. According actually to weak opinion. And it will come with us that it is wajib, it's not rukn. Now in Hajj you have to distinguish between what is wajib and what is rukn. Rukn means pillar. Means if you don't do it, one of these 4 things, your Hajj is incorrect. But if it's wajib, if you did not do it, you have to slaughter an animal. And your Hajj will be okay. And it's coming to us. Again, I'd like you to change it. Don't mention they are 4, 5, they are 4. It's better. Because shaving the head actually is not essential. It is wajib. That's the correct opinion. Okay, so how many essential rites for Hajj? 4. What are they? Making the intention to enter the ihram, standing in Arafah, circumambulating the Kaaba. When? You have to mention when, because if you tell me circumambulating the Kaaba, wrong. You have to mention which one. Yeah, 10th. It's called Tawaf al-Ziyara or Tawaf al-Ifada. ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس. This is number 3. Number 4, doing the sa'i, walking between Safa and Marwa. Okay, these are the essentials. What do we mean by essential rites of Hajj? Which means if you don't do any of them, your Hajj is incorrect. Now the essential rites of Umrah. We know there is Hajj and there is Umrah. What's the difference? It's a lot easier. Okay, now you reminded me with something. We did not define Umrah or Hajj. What's the definition of Hajj?
Hajj Hajj is during specified times.
What?
Hajj is during specified times only.
Hajj is during specified times only.
8, 9, 10, 11, in those times only. The Hijjah or Umrah can be done anytime.
What is Hajj? You did not define it. If I go on the 8th of the Hijjah and I go to the masjid, is this Hajj? What is Hajj? Yes. It's a pillar of Islam. Zakah is a pillar of Islam. Salah is a pillar of Islam. Fasting is a pillar of Islam. Until now, it seems you have a problem with definitions. What's the definition of Hajj? Yes. It has to be what? It has to be the Eid of Arafah? What if I go now to Arafah? Is this Hajj? What? Essential pilgrimage to Mecca. What's pilgrimage? Visiting the house of Allah on specific time to do a specific thing. That's the Hajj. What's the Umrah? Visiting the house of Allah at any time to do a specific ibadah. Okay? That's the definition of Hajj and Umrah. I will not repeat it. Don't ask me to repeat it. You should know it. So the difference is the Umrah, you could do it any time in the year. But can you do the Hajj now? What if Hajj came in Ramadan? Which one you do? You fast or you do Hajj? Sundus. It's not gonna come, right? What if the Jum'ah prayer came on Sunday? Do you do the Jum'ah prayer or not? It cannot happen. Okay? It's the same thing. So Umrah, you could do it anytime, but Hajj, it has specific time. And Umrah has only few rituals, unlike the Hajj. What are the essential rites of Umrah? They are 4. Entering into Ihram, again making the intention to enter into Ihram. Circumambulating the Kaaba. This is sufficient in Umrah, but in Hajj, if you say circumambulating the Kaaba, it will be wrong, because you have to specify which one of them. Number 3, walking between As-Safa and Al-Marwa. And number 4, shaving or trimming the hair. Actually, it is 3 only. Again, number 4 is not, it's not really a pillar. But according to one opinion. What's the additional one in Hajj that we don't have in Umrah as essential right? Exactly, standing in Arafah. Standing in Arafah in the Umrah is not wajib. Now the required rites of the pilgrimage, other than the essential ones. What's the difference? Now we just said the essential ones. The required means the wajib. Okay? In Hajj only, it is different when we say essential and required. Usually, we say both of them to one thing. Like in prayer, we say required, or actually sometimes also we say rukn and wajib. Here, the required means you have to do it. If you did not do it, you have to slaughter an animal. But your Hajj is okay. While the essential, if you did not do it, your Hajj is not okay. That's the meaning of the required. How many things? 5. How many essential rites for Hajj? 4. How many required? 5. First one, entering into Ihram only at occasions specified by the Prophet ﷺ. What do we mean by that? Now we just mentioned in the essential rites that entering into Ihram is a pillar, right? It's a pillar to enter into Ihram, but you don't have to do that unless you reach a designated place. We call them al-mawaqit. Al-mawaqit. Like Dhul Hulayfa, Qarn al-Manazil, Yalamlam. Those designated places, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned them as places where you have to do the Ihram from there. What if you did not do it from there? What if you crossed that area and you did not do the ihram? Still your hajj is okay, but you missed a wajib. You have to slaughter an animal. But if you go all the way and you did not do ihram at all, is your hajj accepted? Is your hajj accepted? No, it's not accepted if you don't do ihram. You have to do ihram. But do you do it from that place in particular? This is wajib. It's not rukn. Do you understand this or not? I will explain it more inshallah. Number 2, casting the pebbles 3. In Hajj, in Mina, we have 3 places where we have to cast the pebbles, the stones. This is wajib, which means if you did not do it, your Hajj is still okay, but you missed a wajib. Number 3, shaving the head. You shave the head. Here is the correct place. It's not there with the essential rites of Hajj. So these are 3 required things. Number 4, spending a night at Muzdalifah, according to the strong opinion. Spending the night at Muzdalifah. Where is Muzdalifah and when do we spend the night? Can I go now and spend the night there? Hello?
No, you can't do it. There won't be any.
It has to be in a specific time. When? Did any one of you go for Hajj? Did you go to Hajj? Did you go?
Yes.
Are you sure it's on 11th? Hopefully you did not do it this way, otherwise.
Yeah, I did not do that.
But they did not change it from year and a half.
Was that right?
Yeah. Yes, what do we have from the students online? Exactly, after Arafah. On the night of the Eid. It is the 9th day and the night of the 10th of the Hijjah. You go to Arafah, in the way back, you come to Muzdalifah. I'll show you the map. Muzdalifah in the middle, between Arafah and Mina. You go from Mina to Arafah, you go back from Arafah to Muzdalifah. You sleep there the 9th of the Hijjah. And you woke up in the morning, which is the 10th of the Hijjah. This night, when you spend it there, it is wajib. Which means you have to do it. If you did not do it, still your Hajj is correct, but you have to slaughter an animal. You have to sacrifice. Number 5, spending the nights in Mina on the days of Tashriq. Again, according to strong opinion. You have to spend nights in Mina. The 11th, 12th. Two nights or 3 nights. If you wanted to rush, you could have only 2 nights. Or if you wanted to stay there, you should stay for 3 nights. This is also wajib. These are the required. What's the difference again between required acts in Hajj and essential acts in Hajj? Essential, you have to do them. If you don't do them, your Hajj is incorrect. Required, you have to do them, but your Hajj is still okay unless you slaughter an animal. You have to slaughter an animal. You have to sacrifice. Now the recommended rites of the pilgrimage. Which means, let's say you performed the ihram from the designated place. You went and performed the tawaf and sa'i. You threw the pebbles. You cast them 3. You slept in Mina. You slept in Muzdalifah. You stood in Arafah. You did the tawaf and the sa'i. Your Hajj is complete. These are recommended rites. It's only recommended. First one, performing the pilgrimage without the Umrah, which we call ifrad. There are 3 types of Hajj that you could perform. Ifrad, Tamattu' and Qiran. What are they? I will explain them inshallah. Ifrad, Tamattu' and Qiran. So the first one, which is Ifrad, it is recommended to do it. What is it? I will explain it later. Just write it as is now. Number 2, chanting the talbiyah. Saying a talbiyah. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. What's the meaning of talbiyah? What's the meaning of talbiyah? There are two meanings. I obey you, O Allah. Labbaik. When you call someone and he tells you labbaik, means I'm listening, go ahead. Or I am committed to worshipping you. التلبية من الالتزام. لبى المكان إذا التزم. If you go to a place and you say I am doing talbiyah, means you are staying there. So when you say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, means I am committed to worshipping you, O Allah. Or I am responding to your call. When Ibrahim alayhi salam called for Hajj, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, we are responding to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Labbaik. Ibrahim alayhi salam called us by the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are responding to this call. So there are two beautiful meanings for talbiyah. Number 3, circumambulating the Kaaba at the beginning of the pilgrimage. Again, you see now, try to avoid the confusion. There is type of tawaf which is rukn, and there is type of tawaf which is sunnah. Circumambulating the Kaaba at the beginning of the pilgrimage. Number 4, spending the night at Muzdalifah. But is this strong opinion? No, it is a weak opinion. We mentioned all earlier. What's the ruling of spending the night in Muzdalifah? It is wajib. It is wajib. Yes, after Arafah. Do you have to or you don't have to? You have to. So it's not sunnah, it is wajib. Praying 2 rak'ah after circumambulating the Kaaba. It is recommended always after 7 rounds around the Kaaba, you pray 2 rak'ah. وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى.